President.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, Congress stands ready to reform the last of the core 4 environmental statutes, and may do so with a stronger bipartisan vote than any other major environmental statute in recent American history. For a generation, the American people have been guinea pigs in a terrible chemical experiment. Told that all the advances in our chemistry labs would make us healthier, happier, and safer, American families have had to suffer with decades of a law that did nothing to ensure that that was true. And that is because when the industry successfully overturned the EPA's proposed ban on asbestos, it also rendered the Toxic Substance Control Act all but unusable. Children shouldn't be unwitting scientific subjects. Today, we have a chance to protect them by reforming this failed law. As ranking Democrat on the Senate Subcommittee of Jurisdiction, I was one of a handful of members who participated in an informal conference with the House. And I have, with Senators Udall, Boxer, and Markey, prepared a document that is intended to memorialize certain agreements made in the bicameral negotiations that would typically have been included in a conference report. In our work with the House, we truly did take the best of both bills when it came to enhancing EPA's authority to regulate chemicals. The degree to which states will be preempted as the federal government regulates chemicals has been a source of considerable debate since this bill was first introduced. I have always been a very strong supporter of states' rights to take actions needed to protect their own residents. And for many of us, accepting preemption of our states was a difficult decision that we only made as we also secured increases to the robustness of the EPA chemical safety program. I am particularly pleased that efforts I helped lead resulted in the assurance that Massachusetts' pending flame retardant law will not be subjected to pause preemption, and that there is a mechanism in the bill to ensure that states' ongoing work on all chemicals can continue while EPA is studying those chemicals. The fact that the bill is supported by the EPA, the chemical industry, and the Chamber of Commerce and the trial lawyers tells you something. The fact that a staggering 103 members of the House of Representatives voted for this TSCA bill, more than the number who agreed to support the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, or the Safe Drinking Water Act amendments when those laws were reauthorized, tells you something. What it tells you is that we work together on a bipartisan and bicameral basis to compromise in the way Americans expect us to. Although there are many people who helped to create this moment, I'd like to thank some whose work over the past few months I especially want to recognize. Bonnie Lautenberg, on behalf of her husband Frank, she was relentless. Senator Inhofe and his staffers, Ryan Jackson and Dimitri Karakitsos, who remained as committed to agreements that they made about Senate Democratic priorities as they were to their own priorities throughout this process. I couldn't have imagined a stronger or more constructive partnership. Senators Udall and his staffers, Drew Wallace and Jonathan Black, whose leadership, especially during these challenging moments, were very important. Senator Markey and his staff, Adrian Devaney, whose creativity often led us to legislative breakthroughs, especially when it came to crafting certain preemption compromises. My own staff, Michal Friedhoff, she has done little but this for one consecutive year. This is her 20th year on my staff. With her PhD in biochemistry, it was invaluable in negotiating with the American Chemistry Council and all other interests. I also want to thank many other members, Senator Boxer, Senator Whitehouse and his staff, Bettina, along with Barbara Boxer, Senators McConnell, Senator Durbin, all central players in making sure that this legislation was here today. The spectacular and hard-working EPA team, all of whom provided us with technical assistance and other help often late at night and before the dawn. I thank Gina McCarthy, Jim Jones, Wendy Cleveland Hammett, Ryan Wallace, Priscilla Flaherty, Kevin McLean, Brian Grant, David Barral, Laura Vaught, Nicole DeStefano, Sven Eric Kaiser,
Senator,
Tristan Brown. May I ask just one additional minute, Mr. Chairman?
Is there objection? Without objection.
Ryan Schmidt, Don Sadowski, and Scott Sherlock. Stephanie Harding and Andrew McConville at CEQ, whose day-to-day engagement helped especially in these last few weeks, and some outside stakeholders who work particularly closely with my staff and with me, Andrew Rogers, Andrew Goldberg, Richard Dennison, Johanna Slaney, Mike Walls, Rich Gold, Scott Faber. I've enjoyed meeting, working with, partnering with each one of these outstanding people over the last year. This is a huge bill. It's a historic moment. It's going to make a difference in the lives of millions of Americans. It's the most significant environmental law passed in this generation. The old law
time has expired.
Did not work. This one is going to protect the American people. I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. President.
And yield our time back, and I see the senator. Of course.
Before you do that,
Massachusetts.
I just want to once again, Senator Inhofe, compliment you and Senator Vitter. It didn't have to wind up this way. It wound up this way because you reached across the aisle, because you ensured that all sides were given a fair hearing, and that at the end of the day there would be this result. So I just want to, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been on an Environment Committee for 40 years. This is not easy. What you did, from my perspective, is historic, and it's unprecedented in terms of ultimately how easy you made this process. I was there at the table at Superfund, Clean Air Act, all the way down the line. You, my friend, have distinguished yourself. And along with Senator Vitter, you've made it possible for all of us to hold hands here as this historic bill tonight will pass on the Senate floor. And I just wanted to compliment you one more time.
I appreciate the remarks from the senator from Massachusetts very much. And with that, I'll yield back our time and ask for the vote.
The question is on the
Markey, yeah. Just one second, and I just wanted to reinforce what you just said. On the House side, Fred Upton, Frank Pallone, Nancy Pelosi, and Steny Hoyer, that incredible staff, Mary Frances Refko, over there, just indispensable. That's why it happened. It was bipartisan, bicameral. I thank the gentleman for yielding.
Thank you, Senator Markey. And you know, because you've served so many years, how important it is to have good staff. And I wanted to just make sure that we get them all thanked here. But thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Implementation of this